Colorful, bold, modern. Those are just a few words to describe the artwork of Shar Tuiʻasoa. Creativity is in her DNA, and after years of struggling, she found success with her fresh take on Polynesian culture, women, and life in Hawaii.
Punky is meant to describe like the aesthetic of my art. And the Aloha is kind of there to describe my ethos, how I conduct my business. I'm really big on being a part of community and giving back, just the reciprocal nature of how we are, I think, in Hawaii. So that's kind of Punky describing the style and Aloha describing like my heart, you know? I'm Shar Tuiʻasoa. I'm the illustrator of Punky Aloha Studio. I think my childhood was like any typical kid growing up in Hawaii. I grew up on the east side over here in Kailua. It was a wonderful childhood, just going to the beach. My mom was, she was a wizard at finding all the free stuff for us to do. So we never felt like we were ever without. We were always like, even to put gas in the car, she was having us roll pennies, but like, that was the only way we could leave the house, is if we rolled enough pennies to put some gas in the car, and she turned it into a fun game. My mom was an artist also, so when we were really little, she was dragging us with her to her art classes over at WCC. She was studying under Snowden Hodges, and that was kind of my first exposure to art. Both of my parents, they never told us we couldn't draw on our walls, and we didn't own our homes, okay? We were renting, and she was just like, whatever, we can paint over it when we move out. So even growing up as a kid, I'd create these worlds all over my walls. It was like my little escape in my bedroom. Yeah, so there was always encouragement to just express yourself and be imaginative. I think my talent always kind of was the creative part, like the concept part. I loved making characters, but I will say with confidence that I was pretty terrible at drawing for a good part of my childhood, even into my teenage years. But I think the skill set, the technique didn't come until like after I graduated high school. I went and actually decided like I was gonna study art. I wanted my ideas to I want people to see them, and I couldn't really share them because they just weren't great. They weren't reading, you know, like what I saw in my head wasn't translating. So I went and studied fine art over at WCC for a while, years. Also under Snowden Hodges, just like my mom. And from there, I ended up applying to art schools on the continent and went and got my illustration degree in California. When I was going to WCC, I was working, you know, 2 or 3 jobs at a time to pay for school. When I went up to college on the continent, I had to rely on scholarships, grants, and I had help from my partner who came up with me. And it was just plain and simple, it was a struggle. We were, you know, living off of welfare. I was stretching $20 for an entire month, which I got really good at. But I don't think I ever felt like, you know, woe is me. I just kind of felt like, well, this is what we do, you know, whatever, you know, I don't really care. You know, I'm just happy to be studying the thing that I love the most. It kind of more so hit me after I graduated and we came home. I had a brand new baby. I had nowhere to work. I wasn't sure what I was gonna do. We were living with our parents and we were just kind of moving around and kind of running out of any sort of money that we had. And that's when it really hit me like, okay, we're about to not have anywhere to live pretty soon. You know, I better, you know, figure out what I'm gonna do. So that's either gonna be just, you know, just sort of forget art and I'll just go back to bartending, which is a good job too. It just wasn't where my heart was. Or I'm just gonna give it one last effort and see where it goes. And that's where I just started kind of drawing again. It helped me kind of discover a new style of art that I had never done before, which is more like flat graphic art rather than like these like highly rendered oil painting stuff that I was always doing. We'd post it online, and that's kind of how it all started, just naturally. I kind of draw these Polynesian women, and I always felt like they're the women I know, like my cousins, my friends, my aunties. I also feel like all of them are different parts of my personality. Sometimes, at least I draw myself the way I would like to present myself. I don't think I'm nearly as cool as some of the women I draw. I do use a lot of bright colors, bold colors. I'm not one for like the beige pastel colors. It's not what my closet looks like. It's not like what my personality is like. I'm a pretty loud person. And for a long time, I felt like I had to quiet that down. I felt ashamed of it for a little while. And then I started to accept it and really love it as I learned to love myself, as I healed myself more. And I think my art is definitely a reflection of this like unapologetic way of entering any space with loud patterns and clothes, big hair. I think as I'm drawing, I'm healing myself in that way and just not apologizing for any part of your personality anymore. I think a lot with my heart, so I think I lead with that probably more than I should. But I'm, of course, inspired by Hawaii. I'm in love with my home. Obviously very inspired by my culture, by the cultures of the ocean. I'm really inspired by people who have, huge voices and they use it to do good. I sometimes feel like really afraid to do that sometimes, but I'm really inspired by having purpose with your art. Yeah, all over the place. I like to just eat it all up, Everything is inspiring. Hi, I'm Punky. Punky Aloha. That's the nickname my grandma gave me. She's my best friend and we do everything together. Grandma calls me her brave adventurer, which I am now, but I wasn't before. The truth is, I wasn't always brave. Making new friends, now that was hard. Oh, the book Punky Aloha. That was such a crazy thing. I think oftentimes I've learned in this journey I've had as a freelancer is that I've just been really fortunate. Some things have just kind of come to me. And that is the case for the book. So doing a children's book has been a dream of mine, forever. And I got an email randomly one day, right at the beginning of 2020 from an editor at HarperCollins, no less, one of the big five. And she just said, hey, I ran across some of your artwork on Instagram. We don't have any Pacific Islander children's book in the mainstream space. You want to do one? And I was like, I thought it was, I was being scammed, to be honest. I was like, how did she know that that's what I wanted to do? And so we had a meeting and she's like, listen, I think you can do this. I want you to also write it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. Anytime you see Punky Aloha in her home, it's got a yellow theme to it, but there's a lot of little parts from a lot of our childhood that I wanted to include, which is why I think I like this page the best. So we have like these linoleum tiles. My kitchen always had these like mustard yellow, like the stick-on tiles that we had with these funky little designs on it. And then on our counter always had a bottle of shoyu and always had rice cooking. We've got the Knoll packets. We have a fly swatter above the sink. So yeah, this one's one of my favorites just because it kind of brings me right back to my childhood. When I first started it, I was just like gung-ho, like I've been training my whole life for this, I can do a children's book, I can tell a cute story, kind of base it on me. And then as I finished it and we're getting closer to the release, I think it kind of hit me. In the mainstream children's book space, the first Pacific Islander to publish, author, and illustrate a children's book. And I didn't realize that. I was really scared that I was gonna disappoint my community, not just the Pacific Islander community, but the Hawaii community, because you just put a lot of pressure on yourself, and I just wanna be a good, positive representation. And I think all of those things kind of swirl around when you don't have a lot of us in the space, a lot gets put on your shoulders. And I felt that really hard. There is still a huge lack of representation of us in this particular space. Hopefully that changes even more. The more we start seeing like the possibilities of what we can do, I think the more we're going to be encouraged to step into spaces that we didn't know we quite belong. I never take any of my successes for granted. A lot of the times I'm working to give it away, but living in Hawaii is like a very, it's not easy to be able to stay home. So I never forget that you can be a day away from back to the struggle house again. I'm only successful because my community has allowed me to be. So I never forget that it's not just a me thing, it's a village thing, it's a us thing. I think I just kind of keep reaching for the stars and see what fun opportunities come.